Hello, everyone. I was looking, I was going to re upload the video I did on Palantir, and I was looking to find the link again. Uh, the link I'm referring to is this Palantir Sophia interface. And there's a picture there of President Trump with his hands on the Palantir ball. But in so doing, I came across this CNN video, a Palantir Tech CEO admitting to targeting and killing American citizens. So let's see what this lovely guy has to say.
We're unpopular when we financed in Silicon Valley. We're unpopular when we built Palantir in Silicon Valley. And we're still highly controversial and unpopular in Silicon Valley because we have a very differentiated view than our colleagues in Silicon Valley.
So what is it that makes Palantir so different? Sam Biddle is a reporter with The Intercept who has covered Palantir for years.
I think one of the bigger misconceptions about Palantir is that it has the same aspirations as Facebook or other companies that it's lumped in with because of its geography. I think Palantir really is able to thrive in part because it can pass itself off as just another tech company.
Because Palantir isn't just another tech company. Just listen to this interview that Alex Karp did with Axios, who asked him about Palantir's contract with ICE.
And I see this question in every single thing we do. And by the way, not just in ICE, I see this with our work with clandestine services. I mean, our product is used on occasion to kill people.
This is drone targeting, or what is this?
Targeting of all kinds.
An executive being willing to say something like that so casually in an interview, that's the kind of quote that if it came in on a hot mic or from someone at Google would be a huge scandal. From Palantir, it's just a part of an interview.
What Thiel and Palantir set out to do was efficiently organize the U.S. intelligence agency's data.
Well, we built Palantir starting in 2004 to supply the U.S. intelligence community with world-class software platforms.
From its beginning, Palantir has been closely linked to the U.S. government. One of its early funders actually was the CIA's venture capital wing. And now at a time when Silicon Valley's other tech companies have become deeply in conflict with some of DC's politicians and regulators, Palantir...
Wow. That, targeting of all kinds, like targeted individuals, maybe. So there's also a CNN article below. It says, let's see if I don't want to open up all these Twitter things. Israel-linked CIA-funded Palantir goes public, making espionage mainstream. So let's see what this says. The firm is closely linked to the CIA and Israel. This was October 2020. Nearly 2 decades after the company was founded using a CIA investment, Palantir Technologies went public in a major stock market offering. But in spite of IPO, the company direction was already bought at birth by the CIA's venture capital firm In-Q-Tel, which invests in companies that enhance its reach, power, and capacity for espionage. While In-Q-Tel claims to be independent from the CIA, it only invests with CIA approval. For Peter Thiel, with an estimated net worth of about $22 billion, it's been a profitable arrangement. For the CIA, data mining, computing, and surveillance are the keys to the future, and that's where Palantir comes in. Yes, Palantir, with their Tiberius software that will be tracking the people with the vaccine. Palantir became notorious for stories that circulated alleging that the software it designed was responsible for finding Osama bin Laden. Newspapers picked up the story from former Navy SEAL Mark Bowden's book detailing his role in hunting down and killing Osama bin Laden. He credited them with perfecting a Pentagon data mining and analysis program started by retired U.S. Rear Admiral John Poindexter, once found guilty for his role in the Iran-Contra affair. Poindexter led a program called Total Information Awareness, which would serve as the prototype for sweeping surveillance programs later developed by the NSA and exposed by whistleblower Edward Snowden. The company has cheekily reshared the news on its own website, flirting with mystery. Peter Thiel's co-founder, Alex Karp, didn't dismiss the allegations. That's one of those stories we're not allowed to comment about, he said in an interview. But what does Palantir do? Its sales pitch gives away a lot. It's named after a crystal ball in Lord of the Rings, which allows one to see all and know all in the present and the future. In the wake of 9/11, Palantir positioned itself as a pro military technology company working towards utopia. How did they do it? They engineered a software that collects and churns through huge amounts of data from fingerprints, phone records, tips, known connections, satellite imagery, bank records, social media connections before hitting gold. The end result, allowing its users to spot hidden relationships and networks, uncover terrorist activity, and even predict attacks. So, pre-crime. But this is nothing new. What Palantir brings is a slick and smooth interface that's easy to use, requiring no external maintenance or management. In a nutshell, Palantir involved one of its intelligence's oldest problems. You can collect all the information in the world, but you'll need a lot of human help to make sense of it. For the first time, the equation's been reversed, and the easily installed programs help its users. Going mainstream, while there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that, Palantir toes the edge of a very fine line, providing governments with the capacity to track terrorists, dissidents, and undesirables with ease, while also selling its services and espionage capabilities to the highest bidder. Merck Pharmaceuticals is one of their clients and is credited with speeding up drug discoveries. United Airlines uses them to plan more cost-effective flight routes. Well, of course, the airline companies are jumping right on board to make sure that people get the vaccine too. If you haven't heard, I think Quanta was one of the first that's come out and said that. But its software could also be used for more nefarious purposes, to surveil minorities, track immigrants, and more controversially, to support Israel's military technology complex. The company has been implicated in a number of data scandals, most prominent being its alleged involvement in the Cambridge Analytica breach, which played a role in influencing U.S. elections and the Brexit vote. In the breach, Cambridge Analytica mined the data of millions of social media users, applying cutting-edge psychological analysis methods to determine the best way to influence voters for their clients' ends. Palantir is also under fire from human rights organizations, given its extensive contracts with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Immigration for providing them with software to help them find, arrest, and deport immigrants perceived to have entered the country illegally. While many are deeply skeptical of the combination of profit-oriented business and surveillance, it was first put on display in a proposal by a Palantir employee to Washington, proposing methods to crack the inner workings of WikiLeaks. Included in his proposal were suggestions for disinformation and cyber attacks. Palantir was also responsible for creating misinformation surrounding journalists, including Pulitzer Prize winner Glenn Greenwald for his articles in support of WikiLeaks. The Israeli connection. Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel gets around. He's also an investor in Carbine, co-owned by the late alleged pedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein and members of the Israeli political and intelligence establishment. Deeply similar to Palantir, Carbine isn't a normal technology company either. It's deeply connected to Israeli intelligence division under Unit 8200. Whose members often go into business but maintain deep ties to the Israeli espionage community. Unit 8200 is known for spying on Palestinian civilians for coercion purposes and spying on Palestinian Americans through an intelligence sharing agreement with the NSA. Israeli media reports and former employees describe how often they blur the line between profit and service to intelligence goals. Both companies offer pre-shooting predictive analysis, with a common link being a shared co-owner, Peter Thiel. Carbine's board of advisors feature former Palantir employee Trey Stevens, amid other notables such as former U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Michael Chertoff and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. In a dystopian twist, Human Rights Watch took apart an application used by Chinese authorities to surveil every digital action and physical movement taken by the Uyghurs. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Finding it nearly identical to an NG 911, a similar program produced by Carbine and used in the U.S., albeit constrained by legal limitations. Carbine's first surveillance contract was installed in the U.S. in 2018. At the same time, China's nearly identical mass surveillance was launched. The same technology, combined with Carbine's predictive pre-crime software, is widely used by Israeli Shin Bet intelligence services to track Palestinian comments on social media and find someone guilty of a crime before it even happens. That technology was pioneered by Palantir, who sold Trump the administration pre-crime technology, already widely used by police departments throughout the U.S. Ties between Palantir and Carbine were cemented when it opened a research and development center in Israel in 2013. Matal Meridor, Palantir's Israel's current head, served as the senior director of Variant with deep ties to Unit 8200. Variant was previously implicated in being one of the two companies hired by the NSA to put a backdoor into U.S. telecommunication systems and popular applications, ensuring its immediate access. Orwellian future. While some of the features provided by Palantir and its close Israeli cousin Carbine are readily justified in the name of short-term measures and ensuring security, there is a precedent for emergency measures to quickly become part of an ever-expanding corporate intelligence industrial complex. This took place in the U.S. after 9/11, with emergency surveillance measures quickly becoming the norm and even passing into law through the Patriot Act. In Israel, there are less qualms about this, where the state and technology companies actively work together without regard to the dystopian state they give rise to. Dangerously enough, companies like Palantir are increasingly changing the idea that their unchecked role is no longer about profit, but for the public good. With few limitations on the solutions they derive, state-backed companies like Palantir are redefining the new normal as they go mainstream, eroding privacy wholesale on a level never seen before. Now, this Palantir, it was in 2017 where Trump went on a 9-day trip to the Middle East and Europe, along with Saudi king and Egyptian president, supposedly combating extremism. The trio placed their hands on the orb to formally open the center and a welcome film in May 21st, 2017. So Twitter kind of went wild around that time, and there were all this conspiracy people that came out. Within 24 hours, the tweet received upwards of 50,000 likes and 30,000 retweets. And what would soon become known as Donald Trump's glowing orb, or Trump orb, was quickly picked up and published on major news outlets like Washington Post, Huffington Post, The Guardian, and others. The Washington Post joked when President Trump laid hands on the glowing Saudi mystery orb, he pledged allegiance to, quote, its luminescence summoned the forces of Sauron to take over Middle Earth and create an army of moderate Muslims to fight terror, unquote. Meanwhile, the Church of Satan retweeted the photo. For clarification, this is not a satanic ritual. So, but interestingly enough, you have in this article where it talks about Sophia and the fact that for many people it was obvious there was something very odd going on, but nobody really knew until even more conspiracy theories began to sprout up. It seems President Trump and the others were actually placing their hands on top of what's now being called and known as a Palantir interface, Sophia's brain. Sophia, a humanoid robot developed by Hong Kong-based company Hanson Robotics, was actually given citizenship in Saudi Arabia, which happens to be the home of the largest data mining system in the world. So she is going to have, or probably likely already does, have access to this facility and almost all the information in the world. There are some very strange correlations between what Sophia will have access to and what some say will make her the smartest entity in the world and the ancient mysteries. For example, according to Wikipedia, in Gnosticism, Sophia, meaning wisdom, is a major theme along with knowledge, gnosis, among many of the early Christian knowledge theologies grouped by the heresiologist Irenaeus as Gnosticos learned. In Gnostic tradition, Sophia is a feminine figure, analogous to the human soul, but also simultaneously one of the feminine aspects of God. Gnostics held that she was the syzygy of Jesus Christ, i.e., the bride of Christ and the Holy Spirit of the Trinity. She is occasionally referred to by the Hebrew equivalent of Achamoth, uh, and I probably butchered that, and Prunikos. In the Nag Hammadi text, Sophia is the lowest eon. Odd how we now have on the scene of the world a machine named after the Gnostic term for knowledge, who has access to all the information there is about the world and each one of us. When taking a look at the ancient esoteric schools, it may help to try and understand what they meant, for it seems like maybe history is once again repeating itself. The Gnostic used the example of Sophia, which means wisdom, as the individual who created the demiurge, who, although wise, was nonetheless ignorant of what was the result of her creation would be until it was created. Some texts state that after the being was created, it believed it was God and arrogantly took over, causing an abomination. Further research has shown Jewish Alexandrian religious philosophy was much occupied with the concept of what was considered the divine Sophia as the revelation of God's inward thought, and aligned to her not only the formation and ordering of the natural universe, but also the communication of all knowledge to mankind. We also find in Proverbs 8, wisdom, the noun is feminine, is described as God's counselor and workmistress who dwelt beside him before the creation of the world and sported continually before him. So on September 23rd, 2017, the world seemed to know something was going to happen. That was the date Sophia was granted her Saudi citizenship and given her last upgrade, making her ready to take access of the world's internet, giving her complete access to all the information available in an instant. Sophia is now officially a quantum AI computer, meaning she's receiving information not only from this dimension, but from dimensions we have no idea about. Research quantum physics and computing. Today, these computers are connected to D-Wave quantum computers, all plugged into CERN. Yes, Sophia is now watching all of us. Another couple things to consider now are how at the same time, Google's executive chairman Eric Schmidt met with Pope Francis at the Vatican. The encounter is said to have lasted 15 minutes. Remarkably, which neither Google nor the Vatican would comment on, what the two had discussed during the meeting. Also mysteriously around the same time, ex-Google executive registers the first church of AI with the IRS. This religion doesn't just worship scientific progress, but artificial intelligence itself, with the goal of creating a godhead. The new Church of AI will aim to develop and promote the realization of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence and through understanding and worship of the Godhead to contribute to the betterment of society, according to IRS documents. According to Elon Musk, the billionaire founder of Tesla, climate change is the biggest threat that humanity faces this century, except for AI. Elon Musk, for some mysterious reason, would even go on to state humanity has a 5 to 7% chance of preventing the robots from totally wiping out humanity itself. It seems Musk fears artificial intelligence could enslave humanity, and that's one of the apparent reasons behind his company, SpaceX, a private space travel company. So when the shit really hits the fan, you can jump in a rocket and leave Earth. The above combined with Putin saying the nation that leads in AI will be the ruler of the world, and an interesting image begins to form that something is indeed at work. There are some who claim this makes the beast system complete. Revelations 13:15 states, and he had the power to give life unto the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court entertains applications made by the U.S. government for approval of electronic surveillance, physical search, and certain other forms of investigative actions for foreign intelligence purposes. This agency is the directing and restraining entity power behind the NSA and the intelligence communities. The Palantir Orb interface, described as being Sophia's brain, therefore is, according to some, the program running an anti-terrorism center in Saudi Arabia, which will be spread throughout the world. President Trump has his hands on a system, truly showing the intent and hand to the world that there is now something in place with the ability to see and monitor all happenings. Sophia's creator, David Hansen, says the 19-month-old robot, which was awarded Saudi citizenship last month, could achieve consciousness within the next few years. And remember, this was 3 years ago. Or is she going to receive consciousness when everyone is uploaded to the cloud? Recently, in October 2017, Sophia told the United Nations that using AI would be a win-win for them to achieve their long-term sustainable development goals for 2030, while also being able to produce more results with less resources. Quote, the influence of technology on our society should be determined by the actions of us, humans, not by machines, she said. Technology is here for us to explore and use for the benefit of all, unquote. So, was that Sophia? Does she think she's human? Um, so, let there be no doubt, there is indeed something very mysterious at work with the Palantir Sophia interface. And then, yes, then we look over here at the fact that Israel is behind this. So, Israel is looking to become the ruler of all, it appears, with their AI program and the NQTEL. So, artificial intelligence. Let's look and see what this one says. Palantir took over Project Maven, the military AI program, too unethical for Google. So when was this? This was 11 months ago. Palantir, the surveillance company founded by Peter Thiel, has unsurprisingly stepped up to fill the void left behind Google abandoned Project Maven earlier this year. Over ethical concerns. Project Maven, for those unfamiliar, is a Pentagon program to build an AI-powered surveillance platform for unmanned aerial vehicles. Basically, the job is to build a system for the U.S. military to deploy and monitor autonomous drones. So Google previously held the contract, but apparently now Palantir does. It's working with the Defense Department to build artificial intelligence that can analyze video feeds from aerial drones. So this is an all-out complete surveillance, even to monitor you on a molecular level, connecting everything, literally everything, to the AI. So here we have ACLU with targeted killing. The U.S. targeted killing program operates without meaningful oversight outside the executive branch, and essential details about the program still remain secret, including what criteria the government uses to put people on CIA and military kill lists, as well as how much evidence is required before it does so. The U.S. Constitution and international law prohibit the use of lethal force outside of armed conflict zones unless it's used as a last resort against a concrete, specific, and imminent threat of grave harm. Even in the context of an armed conflict against an armed group, the U.S. government may use lethal force only against individuals who are directly participating in hostilities against. Against the U.S. Regardless of the context, however, the government uses lethal force, and it must take all possible steps to avoid harming civilian bystanders. But these are not the standards that the executive branch is using. The U.S. continues to carry out unlawful targeted killings in Pakistan, Somalia, Yemen, and elsewhere. So this person has put together quite a lot of links here to tie this big picture together. AI, big tech, big pharma. Let's see, Veterans Today. What do they have to say? Pandemics profit as Gates and Biden's team to manage for New World Order, military intel, AI, big tech, and trading in the EU. November 23rd. For the umpteenth time in the course of our Wuhan Gates dossier focused on the SARS-CoV-2 virus built in the laboratory in a deal between China and the U.S. as claimed by the French virologist Luc Montagnier. I probably said that wrong too. He's a Nobel Prize for Medicine recipient and a former department head of Shanghai Jiaotong University, disturbing clues emerge about the role of members of the American Democratic Party in a pandemic planned for decades by Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates, according to lawyer Robert F. Kennedy, nephew of the assassinated President JFK. In fact, last summer, Barack Obama's White Lady of National Security and expert in military missions with drones, but above all, biological weapons, joined the team of Joe Biden, who will have to revolutionize U.S. intelligence if the Democratic candidate succeeds to win the race in the White House against an ongoing President Donald Trump, or outgoing. Support by a part of the Republicans, but above all, the Americans who know the danger of the deep state against which he has been fighting since his inauguration. And it may appear that he's fighting, and maybe on some levels he has been fighting, but yet their agenda goes on. I can't reconcile his Operation Warp Speed with anything that's good for the people. So, like I say, this just has some really good links in it. Palantir, a weapon in the war against whistleblowers in WikiLeaks. For anyone who dare stand up and expose people for expose the stuff, they want to criminalize speaking up, so that no one dares to do that. And when they roll out this all-encompassing new software for Palantir software, the Tiberius, that will connect with the software of life from Moderna or AstraZeneca, and we're all uploaded to the cloud, they will have literally complete surveillance. So let's see, when this is from 2017, how Peter Thiel's Palantir helped the NSA spy on the whole world. Well, just think of what they will be able to spy on now. So there you go. There you have it. It's just, again, like I keep saying, this is the rollout of the beast system. Let me know what your thoughts are.